ESPN's Jeremy Fowler recently reported on an ESPN podcast, NFL Live, that the Chicago Bears want to sign a bargain free agent at defensive end before the start of the 2024 NFL season. Welcome to Bears Now. I am Harrison Graham. We're going to dive into this report, plus get into some top available edge rushers. But before we get into all that, if you want the Bears to sign an edge, hit the like button. Smash the thumbs up icon right now if you want the Bears to get another pass rusher in here. I would like to see it happen. I think a lot of you guys would as well. So with this report, we're going to get into some top edge rushers. And look, bargain is kind of a loose term, right? Like, that probably tells me that they don't want to pay the $10 million that they paid Yannick Ngakoue last year. They might want to bring back Yannick Ngakoue. We'll talk about him in a little bit. But I think, bargain, you're kind of talking $5-6 million or less is probably what I'm thinking. And maybe some of these top guys that are available aren't willing to budge at that price right now. All right, let's get to my list here. I'm going to rank them 1 through 5 in terms of order of who I would like to bring in. And no changes for me. Calais Campbell is still the top guy I would target. He's aged nicely. He's been very productive. He's obviously not going to be a every down guy at this point in his career, but when you have a guy like DeMarcus Walker, who's been very versatile for you, Campbell's kind of like that as well. You can kind of just stagger those two guys' snaps with one another. Maybe a guy like Jake Martin produces for you as well. Pro Football Focus graded him out very nicely last year. 80 overall, 80.2 against the run, solid against the pass. As a pass rusher, wins over 10% of the time despite being almost 38 years old. Like, he is my top guy. I think he's the most productive guy available based on recent seasons, especially last year. And I like his versatility. He can play edge. He can play some 3-tech. He can offer a lot of wisdom for young players in this locker room. So I expect him to play another season, whether that's with the Bears or someone else. That remains to be seen. But we'll see what that price tag looks like. I do think he might cost the most out of the remaining guys as well. Just given his age, like, he's not going to play for the vet minimum. Like, you're going to have to pay him at least a little bit of money. All right, a familiar face at number 2, that is Yannick Ngakoue. I've elevated him a couple of spots here just because familiarity. Before last year, he had a pretty good stretch of play. So, I think there's some reason to believe he could get back to that level. I also thought he played better once Montez Sweat came on board. Overall, he did not play that good last year, but 2 of his 4 sacks came in the 5 games he did play with Sweat. So, that's promising that he could at least be like a rotation edge, and you could bring him in on third downs, and him and Montez could, potentially go to work and work together there. Also, recently, Ngakoue hopped on SiriusXM Radio and had this to say in terms of a potential contract for 2024. He said, "Honestly, I haven't been thinking about an offer or details in specific at all. The only thing I've been thinking about is taking that grass again and reestablishing myself on the field as one of the fiercest competitors in the game today. That's the only thing on my mind. Everything else will come after that. I have to reestablish myself and remind people of why I'm one of the best pass rushers. That's the only thing on my mind." So, talk is one thing. What's he willing to sign for? I mean, I think that's the right attitude to have. He did not play that well last year. And so my response to that is like, hey, man, come sign a prove-it deal. Come sign for $4 million base, maybe incentives to get it up to 6, something like that, and try to reestablish yourself. Now, I don't think, obviously, these athletes are incredibly confident. They believe in themselves. I personally don't think Ngakoue can get back to a level of being one of the top premier pass rushers in the league. But he could certainly be better than he was last year. He's still only 29 years old. He's never going to be a great run defender, but I think he can be an above-average pass rusher still in this league in the right situation. And you were seeing some signs of life once Montez Sweat got here that could be the case. I mean, this is a player who had 65 sacks in his first 7 seasons of his career, never had less than 8 sacks in a season before last year. Now, is he going to come in here and have 10 sacks? No. But can he give you a more impactful 6 type of sack season? I think that's doable. And if the price is half the cost of what it was last year, which was $10 million, if you can get him for 4 or 5, I think that's a worthwhile swing for Chicago. We'll see what happens here. It seemed like Flus liked him. He was kind of one of those core guys in the locker room. So we'll see. I think another comment he made, by the way, before we get to our next guy, he wants to sign with the team before training camp because remember, he didn't sign until the night of the Hall of Fame game last year. I think he felt like he just got off to a little bit of a slow start because of joining with the team so late. So I think he would like to sign, later in June, early July, get in with the team in the next month or so. All right, pick one to sign. The two guys we've talked about so far. Type CC for Calais Campbell or YN for Yannick Ngakoue. I'd rather have Campbell, but I understand the kind of comfortability of bringing back Ngakoue from the Bears standpoint. So we'll see what happens. Ngakoue will likely be cheaper too. So get your votes in down in the comments. All right, we have some Rome Odunze jerseys available if you want to buy one today. Get one before the season starts. Get them on pre-order right now, chatsports.com/Rome. That link is in the comments and in the description. Get yourself a Rome Odunze jersey. Okay, next up is Emmanuel Ogbah, who former Chief, spent the last few years with the Miami Dolphins. They cut him as a cap casualty, but I think a player that's still pretty good. I mean, you look at last year, played in 15 to 17 games, had 5 sacks. Year before was disappointing with some injury issues, only played in 9 games. The 2 years prior had 9 sacks in each of those 2 seasons. He's 30, so it's not like he's crazy old. Injuries have been a factor, but last year he was mostly healthy and I thought did some decent things as a rotation guy for the Dolphins. I think similar caliber free agent right now is Carl Lawson, who's been with the New York Jets in recent years. He has also dealt with some of the injury bug, especially last season. Only played in 6 games, was kind of phased out of that rotation because certain guys just elevated past him, and then he got hurt, only played in 6 games. But, I mean, if you told me you'd get 2020, 2022 level play from Carl Lawson, 6-sack caliber player, I would certainly be interested in that. Injuries have certainly hampered these guys' careers as they've gotten a little bit older, but I think if healthy, if they give you, 13 plus games, you can get some sack production out of these players. Now, would I take them over Calais Campbell? Probably not, but I would still be very, very interested in one of these two guys. Pick one to sign. If you want Emmanuel Ogbah, type EO. If you want Carl Lawson, type CL. Again, these are in the realm of players that you're not going to break the bank for. They're not going to save your defense, but come in, rotate in, and be third down pass rushers. You could certainly do a lot worse. Subscribe to the channel because if the Bears sign an edge or any other player, we'll make a video around it, break it all down for you guys. Hit that sub button, turn on notifications. Link below, share it with all your Bears fans, friends, youtube.com/BearsNow. Okay, one more here, then we'll get to some honorable mentions. Markus Golden, who spent last season with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I thought played pretty well in kind of a limited role. He was kind of just a situational pass rusher. Disappointing year in 22 with the Cardinals, signs with Pittsburgh late last offseason. 4 sacks. His PFF grades were pretty good as well. I thought he was pretty solid. Now, I don't think he's going to give you kind of that outlier season he had a couple of years ago where he had 11 sacks. But, again, third down pass rush specialist, rotate in. He's been more of a 3-4 guy in his career. He's a little smaller than some of these other guys we've talked about. But as a rotation guy, I mean, like if it's him or Dominique Robinson, who would you rather have? I would personally rather have Markus Golden. Some other guys out there that are just noteworthy. Jerry Hughes, who has been pretty good throughout his career. He's getting older, but I still think he'd be a situational guy. You could bring back Rasheem Green, who was okay last year. Didn't do a ton, but does have special teams value too, so that has value as well. Frank Clark basically was non-existent last year, but is only a couple years removed from being solid with the Chiefs. Justin Houston had a disappointing year last year. Has he kind of met Father Time? Maybe. I bet a team gives him a shot. We'll see. Romeo Okwara, Melvin Ingram, they're getting up there. They've had some injuries, but some other names to monitor as well. So make the call for us. Name an edge rusher that you want Chicago to sign. Maybe it's someone I'm not thinking of. I think I've covered a lot of ground here with the available guys on today's show. Again, Campbell's my top guy. After that, Ngakoue, Ogbah, Lawson, kind of in that same tier. So if the Bears ended up with one of those players, I'd be pretty pleased. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode of Chicago Bears Now. We appreciate everybody for tuning in to the channel. The road to 100,000 subscribers is ongoing, so help us out. Hit that sub button. It's free, and we'll see you next time. Peace.